Yeah. And thank you to our witnesses for being here today. Madame Deschamps, I look forward to your fearless review of the CRA and in particular RAD. And I want to confirm that we are not talking about the CRA at large. What we're really talking about is this so-called elite division of the review and analysis division at the CRA. So I just want to confirm that. I see heads shaking, but I think for the record you have to say yes.
It's correct.
Yes.
We are reviewing the program.
Yes. And
the RAD program.
And we have heard numerous submissions at this committee about the treatment of Muslim charities by RAD. And you will recall in January of last year, Senator Ataullah Jan and I wrote to you as in our capacity as individual senators asking you to conduct such a review. You wrote back and said, let's wait for the tax ombudsman, who we know now in the meantime is not able to do a full review because he's working with one hand tied behind his back. My question to you is, in your review, what is the process you will use to get at the heart of the matter, and whether you will consult with external stakeholders as well whilst you're framing your recommendations?
I will ask my colleague to answer that question.
Thank you, Senator Omidvar. So in terms of the process, and if I can reframe the question, my understanding is that this question seeks to understand or get an assurance that the perspectives of the complainant, so to speak, will be heard and put into consideration directly, and that their voices will be heard. So if that is the question, I know that NSIRA has a review process that allows for full information to be obtained, and in terms of what that consultation will look like or the hearing of the voices, I cannot prejudge, or NSIRA cannot prejudge at this time what that will look like, but NSIRA can provide the assurance that in obtaining the information it needs to reach the conclusions, that those perspectives will be heard and be put into consideration.
Thank you. Just a quick follow-up. We have heard from Muslim charities that terrorism financing, which is the main concern here, is extremely hard to prove. So that instead of proving terrorism financing, and these are allegations, and you will do the review, RAD instead chooses to nitpick over administrative issues and therefore lead agencies through a very long, painful audit review, and ultimately their charitable status is revoked. These are shades of grey, Madame Deschamps. I want to know whether you will have the back of the community in looking for real answers, even if they are ensconced under issues that are, let me put it this way, trying to obfuscate the matter.
Obviously, we cannot answer for the RAD and what we will find there, but that touches practices, that touches the professionalism of our analysts. Our analysts are there to dig, to make connections between facts, and to look at sufficient facts, sufficient set of circumstances in order to determine whether the activities actually conform the governance framework or whether this is a smokescreen. So normally, our analysts are very expert at discerning the facts from the screens.
Thank you. That gives me some comfort. You have expert analysts who can get behind the smoke screen of administrative reviews. The community is so concerned about this issue, Madame Deschamps, that they have actually put out an opinion that it may be unfair for the government to start another review while letting these practices at RAD continue. And they are advocating, some of them, that RAD either be disqualified from conducting these reviews, or that the targeted audits of Muslim charities be suspended until the review is completed. What are your thoughts on this position?
The review has not begun yet, so it's much too early. And in any event, and that I would like to make this comment also to complete one of the observations that was made, that we may need to come back during the review, but normally we don't make any interim reports because our information will have been incomplete. And I sometimes make the comparison with a judge. You don't ask a judge in the middle of a trial what his decision will be. So as an independent body, we need to conduct the review from A to Z, and then we produce our report. And we have a very strict process in order to ensure that our findings are grounded in the reality. For example, after we have conducted all our review, the draft is sent for a fact-finding review to the agencies in order to ensure that we have.
Thank you, Madam Deschamps. That gets me back to Senator Bernard's question on timelines. The way you're describing it, this is not going to be a short process, just the way you're describing it. Can you give us a proxy comparison to a similar study that took X months, years, decades?
We have reviews that go on for a long period of time. For example, the biometrics lasted a long time.
Long time meaning?
That was 18 months. When we did the review of the CSIS and Department of Justice, it lasted over a year. Yeah, about that's it. Normally, we aim to have our review completed within 1 year.
Are your recommendations to Parliament binding?
Our recommendations are what the word says, recommendations, and I explained to Senator Arco that our means are more by way of pressuring them. It's public pressure because our recommendations are out in the public, and in this matter and as in other matter, very often interested parties will act as agents of pressure, but in any event, NSIRA has the authority to come back in order to determine whether any progress has been made, and if yes, we note it. If not, we try to find the root cause of the lack of progress.